Well, shalom, everybody. Baruchim Ha'Baim. Welcome, welcome. I am Ariel Bar Tzadok. Of course, I'm from the KosherTorah School. You find us online at the www.KosherTorah.com. This is now a Sunday evening. It is the 26th of May. The year is 2019. It is here in the United States, the Memorial Day weekend, holiday weekend. And here, at least, everybody goes out and has barbecues and does other kind of fun stuff like that. But okay, Baruch Hashem. I myself actually was in and out of New York City today, having to visit my 90-year-old uncle, who has had some medical issues, and my sister and I went in there and did the righteous thing, taking care of a family member. So, all right, Baruch Hashem, thank God for that. But all righty, as you know, or maybe you don't know, here in this open forum of ours, I sit and chat and talk about all different kinds of fun stuff in our typical no holds bars. I don't know whatever it is, right? In other words, we just tell it like it is. No editing. Everything is raw. We speak the truth here as God be willing it needs to be. So under the circumstances, I usually announce in advance, and surprisingly, from 3 different sources, I had a request to discuss a specific topic. And I said, well, gee whiz, something like that happens. I guess it's, a sign of something. So, okay. I've been asked to talk about sex, of all things. No. I could say, what do I know about sex? Well, gee whiz. I'm a married man. I have, my own children. So, yeah, I guess I know something about the topic. But never really considered myself, like Dr. Ruth Westheimer or Dr. Laura Schlesinger, people who know this stuff kind of thing. But yeah, there is something to talk about. There is very, very much important stuff that needs to be discussed. And in my typical iconoclastic way, I'm going to say things that is probably going to tick off some people and maybe make other people happy. I don't know. But let's get down to business. Let's talk about things. Now, sex, okay? We have our laws from the Torah. Anybody can read, the laws in the Bible and tell you what is what. Obviously, the Torah tradition is not anti-sex. In other words, like in certain religious traditions, in which they make a dichotomy, a split between the physical and the spiritual. It's actually from the Greek stoic tradition. It seeped into Judaism, it seeped into Islam, Christianity, in which the physical and anything associated to it is considered to be the opposite of the spiritual. And therefore, as the spiritual is good and close to God, the physical is considered to be bad and of the devil. Well, for those of you who are familiar with our real biblical tradition, we don't have that kind of dichotomy. We don't have a devil or any of these other mythologies which are so prominent and popular in other religions and sometimes even in our own. So therefore, to associate anything physical with anything negative is a foreign concept to us. You can look throughout the biblical traditions. And remember where the biblical traditions arose. They arose in the Middle East. They are very old. And the ideas and concepts were very different. Now, sexuality has always had a right and a wrong place. That's true. But that was within the context of relationships, not necessarily within the context of erotica. Let me differentiate what I'm saying. Again, we read the Bible. It's very, very clear that the Bible speaks about the importance of a monogamous bond between members of the opposite sex, male and female. That's what we call a marriage. As we know from biblical times, polygamy, in which a man had multiple wives, such as like Abraham and Jacob and many of the others, well, that was the norm then. Some might say today, well, according to Jewish law, even to this day, a man is allowed to have more than one wife. Well, yeah, according to the letter of the law, but understand the context of where and how such a law developed. Yes, it was sociological within a context, but it was also within that sociological context that it had its application and meaning. A sociological context, which I might add, needless to say, no longer exists. So you can, play rabbi games, if you will, and say, well, the letter of the law says this or that. To which I will remind men, if any man out there thinks that he can have a girlfriend, a mistress, a concubine, or anything of the kind in modern times, let's go ask your wives, right? Go ask the missus, see what she says, right? And then we'll take it from there. Now, I'm obviously pointing to something here. And I'm pointing to the context of what I consider to be a natural expression, and I emphasize that word natural, of, should we call it jealousy? I don't think any woman wants to see her man in the arms of any other woman. I don't think any man wants to see his woman in the arms of another man. I think that's normal. I think that's natural. And believe it or not, I think it's healthy. You can go way back into the Torah and the laws of the Sota, in which if a man even suspected his woman of being unfaithful to him, he would take her to the temple, and there was this ritual with the holy name of God and a vow and all that, and that's the way it was. Now, we don't have a law in which a woman would do that with a man, but that experience of this, in quote, jealousy indicates to us something very important about the nature of the male-female bond. And that's where we need to place focus on. Throughout Scripture, we always find that the bond between male and female is energetic. And I've long taught here at our KosherTorah school that all the universe is energy. Everything, all reality is energy and energetic in reality. If you really want to understand life, you really want to understand the reality of things, you have to understand energy. Sex is energy. I don't think anybody needs a rocket scientist degree to understand that. That should be common sense. That's why it has so much energy and passion to it. When we go into the biblical traditions and we read the books like Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim, Shir Shlomo, right? It is very erotic in nature. So hot to handle is the Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, that you have people like, the Art Scroll considers it too risque to translate literally. And in their versions, they will translate the text in a metaphorical way because that's the, in quote, accurate way of understanding it. Oh, really? Yes, the story in Song of Songs between the king and Shulamit, his lover, that's a symbolic relationship between God and Israel. Oh, really? How do you know it just wasn't written by a hot and horny man who had the good old hots for his good old hot and sexy woman? Yeah, down to earth physicality. Remember, in our traditions, things like that are not evil or bad or wrong. So therefore, you could make it applicable symbolically to something else. But maybe when it was written, notice that the metaphors, if they are metaphors, are very graphic. Let's continue along that graphic understanding. For those who've ever studied Kabbalah in the Zoharic application, you have other schools of Kabbalah. You have the magical school, the prophetic school. But whenever we're talking about Sefirot and worlds, right, we always speak of the unity, the union between the worlds. In vernacular speak, we use the word yichud, which means union. But if you go into the original language, the word is zivug, which means a sexual union. We always talk about the sexual union of Sephirotic faces like Zer Anpin and Nok, or Tiferet and the Malchut and the like. Indeed, all of Kabbalah, Zohar Kabbalah, and the Lurianic school, of course, is all very sexual in nature. Why? Because it's all energetic. Way back in the Bible, not good old-fashioned jealousy, energetic. Why the balance between male and female is naturally monogamous is because it's energetic. It's, yeah, really that simple. So in sociological contexts, we might look at the time in which a man had more than one wife, which was in, again, a sociological meaning and purpose because nature and ways of children. But energetically speaking, that was an imbalance. And indeed, you can even go into the good old Dead Sea Scrolls, in which, you go look this up, it's out there. The authors of the Dead Sea Scrolls even condemned David HaMelech, King David, for having more than one wife and saying, no, imbalance. All in the Kabbalistic tradition speak of the importance of balance. So when we're going to talk about the Kabbalah of Kosher Sex, before we even get into nitty-gritty details, and believe me, we're going to get into some of those nitty-gritty details in just a minute, we must understand that the foundation of everything is energetic balance. And it's on that context that we talk. Now, before we get into nitty-gritty stuff, let's look at a problem which exists specifically today in Orthodox Judaism, which didn't start today, but it's been around for a long time. And that is imbalance. There is a tremendous and horrible amount of sexual imbalance, in which, again, that Greek stoic context, or concept, I should say, in which sex or sexuality is considered bad and evil and wrong, has permeated to such a point in which you have individuals who kind of act like a little weird. You have certain individuals men, who think that they're so pious and holy, I refuse to look at a woman. And literally, they walk around with a veil over their face. So don't show me women because it's evil and wrong. And there are pictures like that on the internet. They look like idiots. I'm sorry, but they do. In the Gemara, right, it said that in the days of the temple, there were different types of Pharisees. Pharisees were not the bad guys that the Christians portrayed as. They were good guys. But the Gemara says that there were many different types. 6 types of whom were all hypocrites. One of the hypocrite types was the one who would go around closing their eyes saying, oh, save me from looking at women because I'm so righteous and pious. And, the Gemara condemns that. That's like kind of weird. And then on the women's side, we have something that's happening now, in which a group of women, usually those who have had, shall we say, pasts of promiscuity, and because of possibly some psychological symptoms and feelings of guilt, they go to the opposite extreme, and they'll start dressing in full black, burqa regalia, thinking themselves to be righteous and pious, and again become as opposed to and distant from sexuality as the men in that respect. Well, imbalance is imbalance, regardless if you find it with men and women. What happened to the good old, raunchy way of Song of Songs? Well, let's go into the Gemara. In the Gemara, reaching over here, an interesting story from the Gemara, from Masechet Menachot 44a. I'm going to read that. I'm going to read the whole story. I'll sum it up for you, which speaks about how important erotica actually is. But then you have opinions of rabbis. And remember something about the opinions of rabbis. Now, this is a big problem which gets confusing today. When people read something in the name of a rabbi, could have been a Talmudic rabbi or could be a modern rabbi, somehow they associate with the rabbinic opinion some semblance of authority and or divine origins. Well, the rabbi said so. Yes, so what? What does that mean? The rabbi said so. That's his opinion. When you're listening to me right now, I share with you my opinions. My opinions are not legally binding authorities. My opinions are my opinions. You cannot say, well, Rabbi Ariel said this or that. Rabbi Ariel says a lot of things. For those of you who read my works online, you will find that I've written things 25 years ago, that over the course of time and further study, I've actually changed my views and opinions on literally 180 degrees. So you could say, well, I said this, well, I also said that. What does that mean? I hope that I learn and grow and mature accordingly. Understand, even when you read the Talmud has never, ever, ever, ever declared itself to be the word of God. It is the opinions, deot, of the different sages. Sometimes there are certain opinions that we embrace as a practical course of observance, the way to go, if you will. That is what we call halacha. But when it comes to issues of sexuality, and really there's whole sections in the Shulchan Aruch, Code of Jewish Law, based on the Talmud, of course, which express sexual ideas. Most of the concepts that are embraced in the Shulchan Aruch come from a specific orientation towards sexuality, which today is very much out of sync with where people in the modern world are, and that's very important. Because today, the mores of the Talmud, as described in the Shulchan Aruch and Ar Achaim, really don't apply anymore. In the Shulchan Aruch, the opinions expressed, remember, it's not the word of God, the opinions of different rabbis, was that sexuality, again, law according to that stoic point of view, was not something to be pursued, right? The advice is to say, men, stay away from the women. You don't need to know all that sex stuff, right? Give the woman what she wants, because she's the weaker sex, and yes, she needs it. But you're so high and sublime and holy. You don't need any of that stuff. You're sitting there in the tents of the Torah, and that's all you do is you sit with your books all day and right? You don't have any sexual desire, right? You're so kadosh, right? And God forbid you should ever have a sexual desire, right? It's unclean. It's this, it's that, bad stuff. Really, that was the mentality. And if you learn in the Shulchan Aruch, in many ways, it's very almost anti-woman in some ways and anti-sexuality in others. And at the same time, there's important things there which are rather unique in our religion. So while the advice to men is, stay away from the women, you don't need to be with the women too much. At the same time, the law states that when a man is with his wife, he's obligated by halacha to bring her to sexual climax, orgasm, before he himself. I don't know how many other religions have that kind of law, right? I hope it's a law that men today would practice, pray God, not only because it's good, smart, wise erotica, but, you're going to say you're going to observe the law. Well, there's your law for you. Now, from the other side, where in which if sexuality is looked at something negative and bad, something we don't talk about, wherein it's like you see in certain circles in Judaism today, even the image of a woman is blotted out. That's like really sick in my opinion. Listen, not every single woman is a tempting temptress, right? You have women out there who are naturally beautiful, and there are good-looking men out there who are naturally handsome. And, you could say, well, you turn your head, wow, this is very attractive. But there's a difference between noticing attraction, acknowledging attraction, and acting in ways which bring you into contradiction to the levels and codes of morality which we're supposed to live by. Remember, everything's energy. So energy, like an equation, you have 1 + 1 = 2. You have that equal sign in the middle, and you have to have balance. Well, the male and female need to be balanced on both sides. That's the way it is. And therefore, if you have an imbalance, because one side weighs things down, because sex is bad, sex is this, and sex is that, that is leading to repression. We have seen, for example, within the Catholic Church, because of their rules of celibacy, many of their priests being imbalanced, leading them to pedophilic type of behaviors. And that's obviously a big problem for them. They know it. But in Judaism, we've had the same problems. Many of the rabbis do not like to talk about it. But we have had our own share of rabbinic pedophiles. In old Chicago, where I used to live there many years ago, we had a problem like that. There have been other problems like that. This is real. Now, some of you might say, well, that happens from time to time or here and there or whatever. Well, you want to know something? Maybe that's true. But it happens here and there from time to time, more so when there's sexual imbalance and the inability or the fear to discuss the issue. When a man and a woman are in proper sexual balance with one another, you'll find that energetically, all these other problems just magically go away. Why? Because all these other problems are energetically based. They happen because there's not a balance. Create balance, and what do you know? It's really that simple. So the attitude of sexuality being negative and bad and wrong is itself, especially today, negative, bad, and wrong. Now, some will say, well, our society today is so overly sexed. You go everywhere. You go to YouTube and to Facebook and to television, and everywhere you see sex here, sex there, sex is everywhere. Well, maybe that's more true today than the past. Maybe it's the same as the past. Whatever, it doesn't matter. What matters is what's real for you, for me, for us today. All right? All due respect, back in the days of good old ancient Rome, ancient Persia, they were wild and woolly then as we are today. What do we do about it? You can't go running away and hide. But what we need to do is live within the context of the morals and values to which we ascribe. And those are real simple to understand. Obviously, we do not promote, endorse, believe in any ways, promiscuity. Is sex obligatory only within the context of marriage? Most rabbis will tell you yes. But secretly speaking, the rabbis know that if a woman is not a virgin and she is ritually pure and she seeks to be and embraces a monogamous relationship with her male partner, marriage or not marriage, that is not necessarily a violation of any laws. Now, this is an important situation today because there's been an issue that's been raised in many of the communities. Can a single Jewish woman go to a mikveh? Many of the rabbis today will say, no, 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 if you allow it, that's going to promote promiscuity. Well, there might be something to that. Why? Because if you are a modern individual and you are being promiscuous, meaning multiple partners, multiple includes two, well, and I don't mean just at the same time, we're not into that weirdo stuff, but anyway, anything outside of a context of monogamous commitment, no, we don't support that. No, we do not encourage that. So I don't believe, and I do not encourage people sleeping around. That's a really, really serious imbalance of energy. Energy needs to be balanced in such a way that it sinks. And if men or women, male or female, are going around from partner to partner to partner to partner, energy gets contaminated, messed up, and mixed up, and it creates all kinds of eruva, mixtures, ta'arovot, as we would say, forbidden mixtures. Now, I'm not talking halachic, legal forbidden mixtures, but energetic. Energy needs to be pure, needs to be refined. And that is why promiscuity is a no-no. Because if you really want to be in a proper balance and harmony, you got to be monogamous. It's really simple, energetic mathematics. And that is why we have marriage, etc., and so on. That's the nature of our relationships. You know what? Let's get wild and woolly here and discuss homosexuality. All right? As we know, it's all a big thing today in the rage. Well, Here's an interesting halacha. We all know what the Torah says. Two men are not allowed to be sexually intimate with one another. But the definition of sexual intimacy forbidden sexual intimacy between men, all right, again, we've got to get graphic, is the insertion of the male organ inside the rectum of the other male. That's it. Huggy, kissy, oral sex, or anything of that type is not biblically forbidden whatsoever. Now, here's a curiosity, all right? Let's take two gay men who are practicing Orthodox Jewish. There, wear their big black hats, big black coats. Let's say, for argument's sake, that they take advantage of secular marriage here in the United States and have themselves a secular marriage. What does that mean according to Jewish law, halacha? You'd say, well, that shows that they're in this forbidden relationship. We have to cast them out. Oh, really? Really? Is that what halacha says? Really? Let's review some halacha for those of you who want to say that. Yes, I know what the Torah says. But in order for us to condemn an individual for forbidden behavior, that forbidden behavior has to be A, witnessed by witnesses who have previously warned you that it is forbidden, to which you then pursue the behavior anyway, regardless of the warning. All in front of a bet din. I don't know that many gay couples or, non-gay couples who are pursuing their activities in front of courts of law. Hopefully not. That's not what we do. So you have these two gay individuals. Secular marriage, what does that mean? In Jewish law, we do not recognize secular marriage at all, whether it's homosexual, heterosexual, or whatever. If a man and a woman, or a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, whatever, say we have a secular bond, who cares? Pi halacha, it's not a registered thing that we care about. So you have two individual male, and they observe Torah and mitzvot, maybe in the yeshiva, etc., and so on. They live together. All right? What is their position in the community? Someone said, push them out. On what halacha grounds? They're gay. So what? How do you know that they are in violation of the law? You've never seen it. Well, I assume or I suspect. You can assume or suspect whatever the heck you want. We don't base law on assumption and suspicion. We base law on evidence. Now, is it forbidden for members of the same sex to actually love one another? Of course not. David and Jonathan, King David and his son of Saul, Jonathan, son of Saul, they were very much, blood brothers. They had a true, deep love. That's what the Bible says. That doesn't mean that they were gay lovers. It doesn't mean that there was anal penetration by one part or the other. No. But they were close. There's nothing wrong with that kind of intimacy today. If I see two gay men loving one another, if they're in a good, energetic, monogamous relationship, well, energetically, there's an issue between male and female not being there. It's not for me to tell them what to do, right? And if God doesn't like their relationship and God wants to send down his lightning bolt to strike them down, hey, God can do whatever he wants. He doesn't need my permission. But I, as a human being, am not going to look at these individuals in any negative light, because I don't know what they're doing in the privacy of their home. Maybe they say, halakha forbids this anal penetration, so we're not going to do it, but we still want to be together. Who want to say anything? We always must learn to respect individuals. And you can say, well, you're getting really close there to weirdo stuff. No, I'm not. I'm telling you like it is. And with regards to two individual women, the Torah doesn't say anything at all. No, it doesn't. It's rabbinic law. You go read that, and they'll say, "Oh, you can't allow it." Well, people don't ask my permission and not permission. I'm not a God's policeman that I tell people what to do. My concern as an individual, my desire, if you will, as a rabbi, I want to see people live in peace. That's all. I want to see people have harmony, peace in their lives, and do good. And I don't care what your sexual orientation is. Now, if you're going to in public be a flagrant violator of biblical principles and norms, well, you're going to take the consequences of that. Recently, I read about this, I think she's a European model who, for whatever, I can't understand this woman's reasoning, decides she's going to strip down butt naked in spiky high heels and walk down the street of the ultra-Orthodox neighborhoods in Brooklyn. Well, what do you think is going to happen to a gal like that? Yeah, needless to say, it causes all kinds of controversy, and she got in a lot of trouble. I don't mean with the law. People, very offended by that type of behavior. You don't do stupid things like that. You want to go walk around butt naked? Go to some beach, naked beach somewhere in Europe or somewhere where they do things like that, where no one cares. You don't go do things like that. Where's your concept of dignity and respect? All right? Let's talk about nudity. Nudity is what we call in Hebrew irva. Yeah, nudity, public nudity is not kosher. Why? Because when you are going to be provocative to try to show off your sensuality, then you are essentially presenting a message, right? Hey, look at me. Well, what do you think happens when individuals, male or female, are looking at you, right? If you're a woman, and we can see even in the Orthodox community, where in which women, they could be Hasidic, married with 10 children or whatever, and they wear nice tight clothing, they have big thousands of dollar wigs, they're nice accentuated, they look really hot, right? Some would say they look like they're dressed, for business, if you know what I mean. And these are from women. Rabbis say, hey, what are you doing? I want to look nice. Not for me to say. But if you recognize the nature of energy, you are, in essence, projecting an energetic model, which is going to draw back. Everything's energy. To every action, equal and opposite reaction. Same thing with men. You have men who want to look out because they want to draw attention. When you want to draw attention, you're going to get that attention. And energetic attention doesn't stop at the physical, right? If you, for example, I don't know how this is with women for men, but I know it is with men for women. I assume it's the same. You present yourself to be sexually provocative and attractive. I don't want to get into the details of what that means, whether you could wear pants or a skirt or things like that. And yes, al pi halacha, Jewish law, women, yes, you can wear pants. You can go on to YouTube and you could see the video of Rabbi Mark Angel, who was the previous head of the RCA, who's going to quote you all the halachic sources. Women, you can wear pants, all right? But there's a difference between wearing pants and really super hot tight because you want to show off this or that, all right? Married women, traditionally, in the olden days, used to cover their hair because it was the modest thing to do. Today, that's no longer considered a modest thing. And you have many rabbis who say it's not the modest thing anymore. And married women today can get away with not covering their hair. It's not a big deal. But you can be covering your hair. You can be dressed in skirts, all right? And men, you can be covered nice and stuff like that, and you're showing off. If you are going to project that type of an energetic signature, equal and opposites, all right? If you're, for example, a woman and you present yourself in that way, how many men do you think are going to look at you and fantasize about you? And where are they fantasizing? Well, we'll discuss that, all right? Maybe by themselves, maybe when they're masturbating, maybe when they're with their wives. Same thing with the women. They have hot-looking guys out there, all right? They're fantasizing. In the Kabbalistic tradition and other energetic mystical traditions, all right? It's very interesting teaching, where in which it says that if and when, at the time of copulation between the man and the woman, that either party is fantasizing about someone else, that energetic signature of the other party can actually imbue the sexual act. And if a pregnancy were to occur, the energetic signature of that fantasized partner comes into the soul being born. And the child's soul that is conceived at that time is actually a mixed soul from the fantasized other and the parents, which means that a rabuva, again, a mixture, and that is how we say a soul of a rasha, an evil person, is born. So gotta always watch your thoughts. How do I do that? Let's be very blunt. in the context of the permissible sexual union between a man and a woman, which should be a marriage, you're supposed to treat each other with that same intimacy and erotic passion that is natural and normal. The famous radio talk show hostess, Dr. Laura Schlesinger, would always tell women, always treat your husband, no matter if you're married 10, 20, 30 years, as your boyfriend. Just like you'd always want to attract your boyfriend, treat your husband as your boyfriend. Same thing, guys with girls. People get married today and they get lazy. They say, who cares? And they lose their attractivity and things like that, and it falls by the wayside. And again, this creates a sexual imbalance. Go back to your example from the Song of Songs. Within the context of a healthy marriage between a husband and a wife, well, again, what the rabbis of old said was good for their day, maybe, but it's certainly not good for our day today. So therefore, whatever goes in the bedroom stays in the bedroom, pretty much. Now, let me be graphically blunt. Even though the rabbinic opinion stated things like oral sex were bad and wrong, you should never look at a woman's vagina, you should never kiss and touch it. You know something? Today, oral sex is a big thing. People really like that, whether it's the man receiving from the woman or the woman receiving from the man. Well, let me tell you this. If that is what you are into, if that is what you enjoy, go for it. Don't worry about rabbinic opinions. Heresy, what the rabbis say. You know, you're in the quiet and privacy of your own bedroom. It's not the place where rabbis go. Okay? The only thing between a husband and a wife in the Jewish tradition, of course, is family purity laws. During the time when the wife is in her menstrual cycle, you should not have vaginal penetration, because the Torah says you're not supposed to do that. We have all kinds of rabbinic laws surrounding that. What and how you do things is between you and your partner and whatever. But in the time when you're in that closed bedroom, number one, we're not very voyeuristic. We're not doing erotic, passionate things, out on the beach or weirdo stuff and things like that, right? On the outside, we're very traditional and modest. Inside your bedroom, you go as wild and crazy as you want to go, okay? Obviously, there's certain types of popular things today, I think, because I hear about this, I see it, about like multiple partners. Really? All right. Women, you can help me out here. You really want to like share your husband with another woman? Really? I have not met a woman to this day who says, yeah, sure. Men, you really want to share your wives? Really? No, not kosher. Not a proper balance. Monogamous between the husband and the wife. So all that other weirdos type of multiple partner stuff, which I hear goes on, swingers, switching partners and all that, big X, no good, not kosher, because it leads to an energetic imbalance. We're here to create energetic harmony. So where is your sexuality? What does it take to bring out your sexuality? Where are you? What do you want to do? What's cool for you? According to Torah, it says very clearly, for example, a man can come upon his wife, kedarka, v'shelo kedarka, according to the natural way and the not natural way, which means vaginally or anally. I hear anal sex is a big deal today between partners. Some women enjoy that. If you do, you do. Nothing wrong with that if that's within the context of your monogamous harmony. All kinds of different things today. Some people are into like role playing. Some people are into all kinds of fun and games. They use all kinds of sex toys. They have sex games and all this other kinds of stuff. If that's what you like, don't consider it forbidden. Don't consider it bad. Don't consider it in violation of Torah and holiness and all this stuff. You're in the privacy of your bedroom. That is the place of Kiddusha. You want to get Kabbalistic? The relationship between the man and the wife is the relationship of Teferet, the Malchut, the Yechud, of Kutcha, B'Rechush, Shechinte, and wherever it takes you, do it in Kiddusha. Wherever it takes you. Story. Gemara, Masechet Menachot 44a. I'm just going to paraphrase the story. All right, very famous story of one of the students of the yeshiva, the rabbi, rabbinic guy, obviously very religious, had the temptation, wanted to go to this very famous prostitute. This prostitute was well known. She had 7 beds of lustful enjoyment. God only knows what you do with 7 beds. I don't know what you can do with 7. You don't do in 1, but I guess that limits my imagination. What can I say? But anyway, long story short, he saves up all the money and he goes to this prostitute. He's going to have this wild, passionate night of, I don't know, Vegas, Las Vegas style wildness, whatever. And as he's getting undressed, he sees his tzitzit, symbolically, it's only a story, slap him in the face, say, what are you doing? Now, you'd say, oh, having sex, that's bad, that's wrong, right? That's why this tzitzit slap him. Is that the moral? Let's continue the story. He says, sorry, I can't do this, right? My tzitzit, I have to fear God. And picks up and leaves. The prostitute, who is renowned for her seductive abilities, is freaked out that this guy can resist all of her temptations because of some little strings. She wants to know, who the heck is this guy? What are these strings? What is this tzitzit? Long story short, she finds out that he was a Jew, talks to the rabbis, finds out the power of God and Torah and morality. She ends up converting, becoming a convert to Judaism. And at that point, she asks the rabbi, where's the student? And long story again short, she and the student who came to her originally as a prostitute, they get married. Now, what do you think you would do? You're married now an ex-prostitute, a wicked, wanton woman. She should dress up in her burqa to atone for her sins, right? Take those 7 beds of lust, burn them. No. Read your Gemara. Masechet Menachot 44a, it's available in English. They take the 7 beds of wild pleasure, and now they use them in the sanctity of their marriage. She took her prostitute ways and now performs them only and exclusively with the husband, not her client. All of that sexual stuff wasn't bad and wrong because of the acts. It was because of who it was done with and how. But once it was brought into the realm of Kedusha with her husband, then all that wild and woolly sexuality is totally fine and good. So you learn from the Talmudic example for us today. Whatever turns you on within the context of that monogamous relationship, go for it. It doesn't matter. There are no rules in that other than the laws of Taharat Mishpacha, the laws of family purity. And whatever the husband and wife want to do, that's going to turn them on, that's going to excite them and make their relationship one of passion, go for it. You don't need to ask the rabbi for permission. You don't need to question this or that. If you want to do this way or that way or whatever way, go for it. Oh, but the lights have to be off and this. Do whatever you want. Stop asking questions. Allow the expression of your passion to guide you. And recognize that that passion, that love, it's not evil lust. It's natural, normal, energetic expression. And everybody's got it. And everybody needs to express it within the proper balance. What happens if you're single? What happens if you can't find a partner? Well, today, I guess throughout history, men, for example, masturbate. Now, you read in the Zoharic and the Kabbalistic tradition, masturbation is evil. If you open your mind to fantasy and you spill the seed, demons are born. Okay, well, in all due respect for those of you who want to believe in your little spooky demons and mythologies and the like, I know you're going to get all angry at me, but I'm going to tell you this. If you're single and you cannot be balanced in any which way, and you're burning, I would much rather you masturbate in private than act in perverted ways, support prostitution, or anything else, which, in my opinion, is a greater violation of the laws of morality, certainly the laws of our Torah. connection here. But anyway, we have had problems with prostitution in the Orthodox Jewish tradition for a very, very long time. These things exist within the community, and hopefully that by being honest about these things and creating proper balance between peoples, we could address these things. But people don't want to address. They don't want to talk about these problems honestly. They just want to make it go away. They want to deny it. Well, that's not really what's the best and right thing to do. We always have to be understanding of the reality of things. So if and when a person is in a position where all they can do to relieve sexual tension is to masturbate, and in spite of those opinions which say not to do so, I think it to be the least of all evils than of all things. And I'd much rather see a person do that than propagate a practice which in itself is problematic. Prostitution is, needless to say, a very, very problematic energetically, socially, and the like, and it should never, ever be condoned or supported in any which way. There are stories that have been told about Hasidic individuals. I remember reading in one of the Jewish newspapers called The Forward how Jewish men were well known to, Orthodox Jewish men, to visit prostitutes, all because there's imbalance in their lives. Not good. Balance needs to be at all times. All righty. So I'm going to try to now catch up on comments and text. You see, I put on my good old reading glasses here. And let's see what's going on, if I can find comments. All right, I see here all kinds of comments and stuff, but I am seeing that we have a problem. On my end here, it says, due to poor wireless connection, your video has been paused. Consider moving to find a better signal, or you can end the broadcast. I don't know why and how that's the case, but I don't even know if we're even still connected here. So that's it. So I'm still moving on just in case. So I don't know what's going on. So what do you think of that? Tell you what, I'm going to end the video. I'm going to try to reconnect. So do me one favor. If you're there and you can hear me, don't go anywhere. Stick around, and I'll be right back.